Right. Um, Happy New Year, everybody. We will sort out that in post production when because my computer is quite slow. Well, not my computer, my work computer is quite slow. Happy New Year. Hope you all had a good time. Some of you may have got to an outdoor festivity. We didn't up in Scotland because all hours were cancelled. Yeah, hope you had a good festive break. What we thought we would do is on the back of releasing the 2024 What We Did article, which went out 2 days ago or yesterday. Might have gone out yesterday, which both Mark and I have contributed to. We thought we would just do a video blog, talk a little bit about what we did last year, what we'll, but more I think forward looking because we've covered off a little bit of quite a bit of what we did last year. So everybody is probably sick to the death of my voice. So I'm going to ask Mark, what was the favourite thing that you did last year, Flames of War wise?
My claim to fame of I think being the first mainstream player to come up with the no reserve German list, which then everybody copied in one set or another with the railway guns and the three King Tigers and the six, seven platoons. It was great fun to paint. And it was actually really good fun to play with. I did a variation and did that a couple of times at a couple of events. So it's done now, but it was good to try a completely different list and um, see how people try to work out how to beat it as well.
So did you take that to, was that the one you took to Warfare or the one
I
you took to
I took
National?
it. I took the first one to co-rivalry,
That's
and
right.
then I took a entirely infantry based list, infantry and gun based list to nationals. No tanks.
No tanks at all.
Nope.
No, and that became quite popular, that list, didn't it? Because
But the first one did, yeah.
yeah, because I know we'll come on. I'll come on and talk a little bit about uh, Stuart from Three Colours painted later, but he did one where he painted up one of the units as police. Because I remember seeing it on his Instagram feed, so it suddenly it was really nice as well because he's a really good painter. But yeah, that did really catch on, and I was trying to think how many times I'd been down to play at your house when I was writing the article, and I do remember playing that twice in one day. Once with my once with my Spanish, and it was a draw, and once with my
That was the one where you had
Romanian,
nine templates,
and it was a
most of them
draw.
re-rolling hits. Just took forever.
Was it 9-3? Yeah, seven, I think it was. Yeah. So, and then once with my Romanians, who also have five templates. So, yeah, quite
Yeah, it was a draw because
to get
I
through.
got over aggressive with my King Tigers and
You
allowed them
did.
to be
You,
surrounded.
you very kindly donated
I
them to
should
me.
have put them. Yeah, I know that was
The
ridiculous.
good reserves. Yeah, you could have just sat them at the back and shot things. So that was nice. What did you then? So then you went on to play. You ran the nationals, didn't you?
Well, yeah. So between that, I painted up the Sherman Horde,
Oh
aggressive
yeah.
Sherman Horde with the crocodiles, um, which I took to Scottish nationals, and then ran at the ETC. And then I ran UK nationals, which a bit of a plug is in September this year. Tickets on sale at Battlefield Hobbies website. It's the last weekend in September. Late war with a read the rule pack, but an opportunity to play early war as well.
Oh cool.
So yeah, ran nationals, and then that's where I took the all infantry list. And until I played
Keep
you
talking while
just
I sneeze.
before New Year, that was the last game of Flames of War I had was September 24 until I played you right at the end of the year.
So I think I played that one as well. I think that was the one that you used when I came down and played with you and Graham and Michael, wasn't it? When we did the practice day in July, which was again two draws because you
Oh
rolled a
yeah,
lot.
that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Paul. Yeah, it was Paul. Yeah.
Was it Paul? Right. Yes, because you were assaulting and
Oh yeah, that's the one where you managed to destroy my jumbos with bazookas in assault, which was just mad.
well, if you know, eventually, if I throw enough ones, if you throw enough dice, I'll make you. You will throw a one. But I'll have to. But I will admit that throwing a 1 on the 1 dice that I hit you with, that was a bit that was a bit jammy. Well, not jammy for me, it was just unlucky for you. Yes, and then we played this week. So cool. So you played in 1, 2, 3, was that 5 competitions, 4 competitions?
Nationals, ETC,
Scottish.
co-rivalry, Scottish Nationals, 4.
Did you not play at Warfare?
No, I didn't go Warfare.
That was the other guys, was it?
That was the other guys, yeah.
Cool. So for me, I think I've said in the blog that this is, I don't think I've played as much Flames of War in any year since the end of V3 as I played this year, which is, I suppose, an indication that I probably don't dislike it as much as I used to dislike it, and I've chilled out about it now. I think the best thing I did this year was joint best thing. I always enjoy going to Reykjavik to see the guys and play at Polar Bear, and that was really good fun. And I took para jeeps and para infantry, and somehow managed to come second. And then I had said to Morton, my friend Morton, that I would play at Kleiscon, which is we've done an episode of Eyes and Ears about Kleiscon. So this year it was the 80th anniversary of Market Garden. So we did Market Garden, and Morton had asked me to take the para jeeps and para engineers over to that because nobody else had them except I think Christian, one of the other Danish lads, has got them, but he was taking something else. So it was really fun. It's not really a competitive thing. We had 10 Allied and 10 German players. We had a big game on the Friday night, and that influenced the way that the points were worked out for the Saturday. 3 games on the Saturday, and I won all 3, but we did a doubles game in the afternoon. So I was defending Arnhem Bridge with Christian's paras against another 2 Danish friends of mine. Met Stuart and Will from 3 Colours Painted, who've been going to Kleiscon for ages. It's in Aarhus, which is on Jutland, and it's really good fun. So Jens and Kleist had organised a beer kegs, so there was free flowing beer all included in the price, which probably didn't improve anybody's performance, to be brutally honest, but it was good fun. I'm getting a bit old for dossing on the floor of the venue, which is an old school thing from back in the day, but I did book myself a hotel and have a bit of comfort. But that was really, really good, and it's really nice to play a game that's got a theme, a weekend that's got a theme, and your result matters, but it doesn't matter for you necessarily. It matters for the team, and actually the outcome was fairly historic. The 30 core didn't break through. The Brits held a little bit more of Arnhem than they did historically, but it was really, really good fun. So yeah, that was great. For me to have that number of games in a year is really, really good, and I've kind of enjoyed it. I've been building weirdly historical lists just to not be in the meta, because if I see another Sherman crocodile, I may have to dismember it with a chainsaw or something, because they're not my favorite things. You can use them, but you should only use them with 29th Infantry Division, but that's my hang up, nobody else's. Right, so that was our year that was. What about next year? What are you looking forward to? Well, we should say that we covered a few things. I guess Martin and Lee are the big guys on Clash of Steel and Lake War Leviathan stuff, I think, because Lee's really hoping that it morphs into Checkpoint Charlie, which I am too a little bit. So
I think they might push back by saying big into Checkpoint Charlie, into Lake War Leviathans and Clash of Steel.
Well, I think that their big is big in
Tolerate
that they actually have spent money on it, as opposed to I've been avoiding it like the plague. And I get there's a different way of playing, and I think that's quite innovative. And Martin and I did a blog on it earlier in the year. So if you're interested in sort of initial thoughts on Clash of Steel, have a look back at that. I'm not a great one for fantasy tanks. So, but it is a thing. but I don't think we're going to talk much about that, you and I, because you and I haven't played it, and I don't think you've played it either. So we're gonna move on and talk about 2025 and what we're looking forward to in 2025. So over to you. I'm going to check the chat, see if anybody's so
No one
nobody's
in chat.
chatting. There's a few people watching, but nobody's chatting. So go on.
Uh,
What's the big
well,
draw
I mean,
for?
there's only two things, isn't there, for Friends of War next year, which is the Pacific, which is what, April. So I had a little bit of a slip because I think last time they said it was going to be February and it slipped back. Well, they've said Easter, so assuming April, and then the ever delayed early war now coming in September. With now let's clear this up because if I see one more person kick off on Facebook, um, I don't know, but the clues in the title of the Blitzkrieg book when it says the Battle of France. Now, when you look at a globe, Poland is not near France and is therefore not going to be in the Blitzkrieg book, which is about the Battle of France. It was in V3, but the title of it wasn't the Battle of France. So if
Were they in the Blitzkrieg book
the
in
the last
were they in
book
the
they did.
were they in the early softback book, the polls, or were they in the hardback Blitzkrieg book? I can't remember.
Now you're going into memory that I don't have.
Yeah, because you didn't really do a lot of V3 sort of early war.
I did a little bit. I did one ETC. So someone just asked in the chat, what do you think will be released in the early war uh Barossa book? Well, it again. Forget that the name of the operation. It says the early war Eastern Front.
So I
So I
suspect the
think
polls will be in that.
of course, because Poland's on the Eastern Front, France is on the Western Front. So I expect that will be your Soviets. That will be your I hope you get the Finnish, etc. in there. So kind of Soviet, Poles. Obviously, you'd expect to see more German stuff, and probably Battlefront will stagger their releases, so that they will want German items that, even if they did feature on the West, they've got to have plastics to release on the Eastern Front. So I expect to see a few things, just as we saw in late war, that stagger stuff coming out, where you'll get a bit more once it's on the Eastern Front as well. But yeah, I hope to see the Finnish in there. I think it's fairly certain that the Poles will be in there. They're not going to not do the Poles. And of course that's where the Soviets will drop. And then they've also said there'll be an Africa book as well. So
Yeah.
I think that's the point at which
Not in
you'll
20
see the Italians.
Not in 25 though.
No, and Eastern Front's 26.
So but they're
I think
both
it's 20 from the memory from the video. I think 26 was
okay.
Africa and Eastern Front.
Okay.
Can't remember.
So yeah, I'm kind of expecting. I don't see the first book being anything other than British, French, and Germans. There was in version 3. There was I can't remember if it was Mike Hort that did it or whether it was a player one. They did a list for the Dutch, which was quite fun, but had way too much artillery in it.
You could see some command cards that give some
yeah,
flavor
Mike
for
did
some
it.
other
Mike
nations, but yeah.
Mike did a really, really good PDF for Norway, which I used at
Oh, I remember. Yeah, I remember. In fact, I think that was
we
you
did a
took that
vote.
to ETC, didn't you?
Yeah, well, we did a vote. The
Yeah,
readers
that was when I went. Yeah.
decided to send me to the ETC with what they thought was going to be a really crap army, and I didn't lose with it. I won 4 games and drew the 2 because it was really good fun. I really enjoyed it.
But yeah,
but,
I mean, from what's
it might be a
been
command
teased,
card, but I'm suspecting there'll be I'm expecting to see there'll be a Matilda formation, there'll be an infantry formation, there'll probably be a cruiser tank formation.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that they don't quite make it the same as that's Martin just going to join us. I'm hoping that they don't make it. Hi, Martin. He's just connecting.
There he is.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you both.
We're just talking about early war, so we'll finish, and then I'll just finish off with what I was saying about the Blitz,
but not the finish.
And then we'll go back and ask you what your favorite part of 2024 was. When they did the cruiser tank formation in V3, they just used A13s. They didn't. The A10s and A9s, they only used them in the close support tank formation. So as formation quarter. So I don't think they'll do that again. But and then I'm assuming Charbys, because everybody will want Charbys. Somwas.
Panhard.
Yeah, be interesting to see if they run some of the sort of French light recce stuff with Panhards or the AMR. Because recce seems to be something that they quite like to do.
I think they're going to go big. They have, so if you look at it from Battlefront's perspective, they have nothing more to release in late war unless they, maybe they put a booklet out for Italy. But in terms of models, the late war journey done. Mid war, just want specifics out, done. So all their World War II future is in early war. And I mean, Peter spoke about how many plastics they're putting out. So I think it's going to be, I think it's going to be, more think late war rather than mid war in terms of size and number of releases and number of formations, etc. Because this is their baby. That they know that when they reach the end of early war, they've now got the historic game problem, haven't they?
Yeah, well, I mean that was the where they found themselves at the back end of V3. I do wonder if they'll do something similar with Eastern Front allies for the Germans as they did in mid-war, where they did them as a sort of separate little release afterwards, didn't they? They did. Is it White
Axis allies
and Axis allies? So they did the Hungarians, the Romanians, and the Finns as kind of a little add-on, and I wonder whether they might do something similar. Although, T26s galore in the Russian list, so you won't need too. That'll be a release they could do with the Finns. I'm really, my only frustration is that it's been pushed back because it's always been my favourite period of the war. I think you have to think about it a lot more than you do in sort of in V4 late war, where you get a King Tiger and it kills just about everything and goes straight through, and it's a bit like Team Yankee where all you're doing is rolling the firepower test. In early war, you really do have to think, because even rolling a firepower test is a bit of a thing. So I'm really looking forward to that. I think we should say Pacific and Far East, shouldn't we? Because it's not just Pacific, I don't think.
And Far East. Yeah, you've got the Commonwealth forces, haven't you?
Yeah, because the V3 release was very much Pacific, and they didn't cover New Guinea or Burma or any. But I think it's likely that that's going to get covered this time. So something for the Aussies and the Kiwis and Brits who are interested in the 14th Army and stuff. So I'd be interested to see what that is. I've got some old models kicking around from the release of the V3 Pacific War release, but it kind of competition-wise, which is all I do, it just dropped away, and you never really saw any Pacific War release stuff coming in.
If you follow they released some on their last Kickstarter release. It's on the website, but the patron for 3D Breed, 3D printable 15mm, they've been doing loads of Australian and Sikh forces as well. So they've produced a really nice line for it, and it's not everyone's cup of tea, the scale and look at them, but there's quite I really like them, and a lot of people print them up because they print really well, and they've really gone to town on the Commonwealth forces, which will be really good for it.
Because it can be a bit difficult, can't it? Because I think Eureka do Far East Australians with the Owen submachine gun, which is like the Sten, but with the magazine on the top. And I used some of their North Africa Australians years and years and years ago. I think they're still going. But yeah, and responding to across the pond in the chat, some winter fins. There used to be a couple of manufacturers of winter fins. I used my winter fins came from, I shouldn't, other models are available, but I used a company called Legions East, and they were brilliant. I thought they were really good figures. They did Finnish cavalry and all sorts of stuff. Somebody bought the molds, took them off the market, and you can't get them. It's such a shame. So, but I don't know. We might see those. I don't think we'll be seeing Finnish cavalry, to be fair. But some winter fins would be great. So, Martin, Um,
What's the name?
2024. What was your favorite thing that you did Flames of War wise in 2024?
Oh, yeah, that's an easy one actually, because I didn't do a huge amount, like several people in the team this year. My favourite thing undoubtedly was the big day we had down in June, down in Chady with the shooting scoot boys. That was a great. That
Was
was a
that the
really
Patreon day?
yeah, the Patreon day. Yeah, 2022, I think of us, 22 people there. So if you knock out sort of the four of us that were down there.
Was that the barn?
It wasn't at the barn. It was actually in the we had the Mike hired the village hall
Ah,
because we couldn't get
Because it was
everybody in
too
the
big for
barn.
the barn, wasn't it?
It was too big for the barn. It didn't actually fit in the barn. The table in the end. And Frontline Train came down all the way down for the day, which was pretty cool.
hmm.
They bought a really cool St Mary Glees type board, all lit up buildings.
Cool.
Which was a 4x4 para game, which was like to do a para drop, which was really cool. It looked really cool. As the building sort of got knocked over, the lights went out and stuff. It was all LED controlled. It was very clever. Most impressive piece of modelling. That was a really good day. We had a really good fun day. It was it was thematic gaming. It wasn't very serious. That was probably the thing I enjoyed doing most. It was great. Pretty much everybody had built a new army for it. D-Day based army. I've never seen so many Sherman DD tanks in one place.
Were they all Lees?
Quite possibly. It was quite interesting.
Definitely more than they managed to get onto Omar.
It was quite interesting. Well, yeah, all three. It was quite interesting to see that none of the guys who had bought American forces actually had any DD tanks in their forces at all. Whereas the guys that come over from Canada had bought entire companies of the things with them.
Yeah, people come over from Canada, do you?
Yeah, we had Darren came over. So he came the furthest. And then Chris came over from Germany.
Are we going to be making that? Are we going to be making that a regular thing? I mean, it's all one banner, right? But
yeah.
Are we going to be doing that again next year?
There will be an event again this year, as it now is.
Oh God, yeah. Sorry.
I believe the provisional date is early April. They're looking to do something on Operation Plunder, which is the crossing the Rhine.
Okay.
Because Mike has built a massive Great River.
Yeah.
Board, and one or two of us have got some rather large. In fact, I've got it here. We've got one or two rather large.
Right. So might be doing Remagen then.
Remagen style bridges.
Well, I have a very fancy, expensive new 3D printer if you need anything done because it justifies it.
But yeah, no, I'm sure they'll be reaching out about that. So yeah, the intent I think is to do that in early April this year.
Cool.
Possibly in the barn this time because Mike's is building a new barn. A bit more weatherproof than the current one, I'm led to believe, which gets a bit hot in the summer and a bit cold in the winter. It's
a bit like Mark's garage.
Yeah, but just like, well, actually, probably not. Actually, Mark's garage is probably a bit warmer.
Really? Northumberland single skin garage?
Oh, I don't know. Yeah. See, cold down south is not quite the same as cold up north.
Yeah, I was going to say it's the cold up north is definitely colder than it is down here in the south. Although it's pretty chilly today. Now the rain has finally actually stopped.
We'd be in shorts and t-shirt down there, Richard. That's what he's saying.
Quite well. I have actually got a pair of shorts on. That's mainly
it's that cold up here. I've actually allowed Callie to turn the heating on.
I upset Fez by walking around for the entire ETC in shorts.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah, was
that your stripy blue and white ones?
Kind of black, yeah.
Well, they looked sort of blue.
Yeah, kind of navy, yeah.
To be fair, even in shorts, Mark was sartorially more elegant than a number of other people that were in that hall with us in Poland.
Yeah, I was going to say, Game was not known for their not known.
Well, we had the Warhammer players.
Well, we were in with the T9A guys, and it has to be said that their approach to clothes, some of them have a very esoteric approach to clothing.
Yeah, definitely.
So
that was my highlight. Gaming wise, playing wise, I did play a couple of small tournaments. but
You got
owned a
picked by
couple.
Fez at one.
Are you coming to nationals this year, Martin?
Mark, that's to be determined this year.
Yes.
I am in the country this year at present.
You're
You've scheduled it again for the last end of September.
your what's his name's nemesis. He missed you
Yeah,
this year.
you're playing late war again, which
Oh, but you can play early war.
yeah, well, I don't particularly like early war either.
Oh
So
my goodness! So you don't like late war. You
mid,
don't like
mid,
early war.
All right, so there we go. So
mid war is.
Martin's favourite period is mid-war, which is
I'm with Lee. Mid war is my favourite period. I like the mid war period. I don't mind a bit of late war. I don't mind. I find late war a bit. There's too much variability in late war. To make it as enjoyable for me.
You can only have 10 units.
Yeah, I saw you got all sorts of strange and wondrous rules. I haven't looked at it very hard, but
2 formations, max of 10 units.
well, 2 formations would be a novel experience for me to play with. So,
oh yeah, I think it will cut down on some of the silly spam.
Yes, I think
some of these people that just take German
games might get finished.
I was chatting to I was playing at Tabletop Republic last week, and there was quite a lot of chatter about the fact and discussion about the 10 unit idea.
What's there? Oh, I caused controversy. Ooh.
No, not so much controversy. Interesting to think about and how that might affect list building for it, because I think it has subtle impacts on different types of lists. Yeah, the way it will affect some lists more than others, and I don't know whether it will affect some lists for the better or not. Actually, there are certain builds, quite clearly where I can see where it will have some curbing influence to a degree. There are other lists where I think actually it's a bit of a disadvantage. I did play a small event which had a 30 vehicle maximum, and we were playing mid-war, and I played with.
That's still a lot.
Well, you say it's a lot. I was playing with American armored rifles, and I actually
you have to take the half tracks, don't you?
Yeah,
you can't do like you can in late war, drop the half tracks.
So I maxed out. I actually ran out of vehicle slots before I ran out of units that I could put on the table. My actual list ideally would have had 38 transport vehicles.
And was it maximum of 30 in the list or maximum of 30 on the table?
Maximum of 30 in the list. So I actually had to put 2 units in that I didn't really want in the list. 2 support units. I had to put some 105 guns in just to have a unit that didn't have half trucks. Yeah.
So we should ask you what you're most looking forward to next year then.
Oh yes, they are.
Well, not early war, presumably.
I'm actually quite excited about early war this time around.
Cool.
I have to say I've never been a big fan of early war, and part of that is because it's not so much that it's early war per se, but it's the fact that the games tended to take forever because of the issue you mentioned earlier, which is the firepower issue. So I'm really intrigued to see what they've done with early war, because it either ended up as a big game of lots of infantry, which is okay when you're playing at home, but it's not so good when you've got to play in a timed environment, or you got you ended up in a knife fight with a pile of tanks that just couldn't kill anything.
I'm confident the Battlefront wouldn't mind me saying that I don't think that will be an issue.
No, I suspect not this time. So I'll give you a sneak peek of what I'm actually going to do next, because I started them today. So I don't know whether that shows up.
Crusaders.
That's a Mark 1 Crusader, Rich.
Cool. What with the little machine gun?
With the machine gun turret on the front as well. Well,
technically
Mark 2 with a machine gun turret from last time. They don't make a Mark 1 hull. So I am at present building a Crusader squadron.
Nice.
Which
you're gonna counter it, or are you gonna put it in yellow?
No, I'm gonna have it in the plain. I've gone with the plain yellow. I don't have the patience to counter the cavalry.
No, I put.
I'm rather hopeful though. There might be some nice sort of some nice models coming,
Yeah.
in plastic that will lend themselves to being a bit easier to corner. I took one. The corner on them looks cool if you've got the patience to do the turrets, but I haven't got the patience because the hexagonal turret has got that undercut.
Yeah.
I came to the conclusion that was just going to be really difficult.
I didn't do corner on my early War Crusaders, and when they brought Hellfire and back out, and that actually had the A9s and A10s in it.
Yeah, I was going to say with
the slab sided turret makes a lot. So I started, and I've got 8.
That's where
and at the moment they're still in the undercoat.
Undercoat Prom, yeah, I've got.
And that's from fucking 10 years ago.
Yeah, I was going to say my early war models are pretty much.
Maybe
like
I'll get them out.
The only ones I finished was some were my early Fallschirmjäger models.
Okay.
I've got a really early Fallschirm force for which I did.
Did you get the gliders for that if it was that early?
I have got gliders, yeah.
Good.
And they are the original gliders.
Yes.
So they were my first ever army, actually.
Cool.
That was the first set I ever did back in 2010, I think it was.
Oh,
that's when I started Flames as well.
Yeah. Okay. So some of us have been playing a little bit longer than that.
Yeah, I was going to say I didn't pick it up for a little while.
No, that's good. That was I remember going to a co-rivalry or one of the competitions at Nobby's, and Nobby taking that list and using the Luftlander, the scenario.
Luftlandersturm.
In fact,
that's worth one on the bingo card when he watches this.
Dave Madigan on turn 1. Dave's just asking me about joining the how he logs onto YouTube, and I've so I don't know if
Dave Madigan.
Yeah. But if Dave's actually joined us, or if he gets around to watching later, Dave was the person that got absolutely shredded by Nobby on turn 1 when all the landers when all the gliders didn't crash. And Dave was
always a good day.
Yeah, Dave was using his Kiwi divisional recce.
Oh dear.
Because Dave had the Kiwi one and I had the Australian one.
So I famously beat Dave Madigan's divisional recce because it was all wheeled, and I had enough pioneers that I managed here that I was defending, and I put all my barbed wire out, and he didn't have any infantry,
and he couldn't cross it.
Yeah, because the Mark 6s and the Brengun carriers all counted as wheels or half tracked in.
They were all half tracked. Yeah, can't
cross barbed wire
in the early versions. Yeah,
that was like
pioneers, no progress.
I remember winning a game before the game even started when we played on hard sand, and somebody forgot that recce deployment on hard sand goes a long way if you don't put stuff to protect an objective and try and be clever by keeping it in ambush.
Yeah,
and you can actually get within 4 inches before the start of the turn. So yes, good old.
You don't often see people losing turn 1 these days.
No.
Objectives problems.
So it looks like we're all looking forward to.
I think the thing I'm most looking forward to is the new Desert book,
and that's going to be.
But that'll be 26. I'm not so interested in the West, Northwest Europe Western campaign.
Mm-hmm.
Those that know me, I'm like you. I'm a big fan of the Eastern Front. I like to play the Eastern Front and the Desert are the two things I like most. So the first release is possibly the least of the interesting of the three. Although the French I think are going to be an interesting list.
Morale 6+, I hear.
Sorry?
Morale 6+, I hear.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
Really? Wow. Well,
it's only a problem. It's only a problem if you ever have to make those rolls.
But you just.
I remember things like
oh no, I'm misremembering. No, it's 7+.
Yeah.
Oh right.
Yeah.
Well, you just take a Char B and hope you can kill his 88s before
they bounce before they kill you.
Everything else bounces.
You don't break down. Things like the Laffy and the ammunition carriers and stuff. It'd be interesting to see if that's included again, how that works.
Yeah,
because they had some really interesting rules. The French.
The French were awesome in early war, actually. Yeah. Like in previous editions, the French were really good.
Well, they should be. The French didn't lack for equipment and tactical.
You just put it in the wrong place.
What they lacked was any kind of
plan.
Yeah,
We'll
strategic.
leave the gap by the
Well,
coast.
you know,
Nah, they
things
won't
are
go that
going
way.
wrong when you design a cavalry tank
Yeah,
and it ends up going into infantry divisions,
yeah.
and you design an
Yeah,
infantry tank and you put it in your cavalry division.
divisions.
You
Yeah,
think,
you know,
there's something wrong with your procurement policy
yeah,
here.
but there was some. They made some really odd choices, and you know, when you actually compare that's the Suma 35 to the Panzer 38T or something, or a Panzer 2, you know, it was so much better than a Panzer 1,
Yeah.
and it's a better tank all round.
Well, arguably, it's the best medium tank in the early war.
Yeah,
The only
yeah.
it's
How they
got,
couldn't manage
it's
to actually do
overworked,
anything with, you know,
so it will be overworked in.
Yeah.
Presumably, that's how the rule will work because it's got a one-man turret, right? So,
turret, yeah, the
but
Hotchkiss
it's
thing, all that,
still
all
going to
that.
be, a
Gonna be hard to kill.
decent armor,
Still gonna be
hard to kill. And
All right, gun.
well, well, it used to be anti-tank 6, I think,
Which in
Six, I
early
think.
wars pretty all right.
The
which is
Sumo, yeah, I think it's
which is more than enough when there's a lot of stuff floating around with front armor 1.
one, yeah.
And 2, yeah.
And even a Panzer 3s like the Panzer 3s were 3-3.
Yeah, they were because they were three. Yeah, because the D, the D's and the D's, the 3D and what have you. You know, even your early Panzer 4Ds, you know, weren't that well armored compared to the you know,
No,
because
there's
they're
one.
the early, you know, what you got to think about is that on the west, you know, in the northwestern European campaign, i.e., you know, the Lowlands campaign and the capture and defeat of France, that was the earliest versions of the tanks we used.
Yes.
Still, they weren't upgraded. They'd upgraded.
No, some of the Hannemanns.
They'd started the upgrade program on the learning of the Polish campaign in 39, but they hadn't really got a lot of that stuff into the front line.
No.
So a lot of those a lot of those German tanks fighting in France were still the same tanks that were fighting in Poland, sort of 3 months earlier, 6 months earlier.
Yeah, the French rules, you could move the objective a little bit closer to yourself.
Yeah, you used to be able to fight. You had some rules about overhead fire, didn't they, by the infantry?
Yeah, well, you were allowed
guns worked
because the trench doctrine. You could, you were able to. You didn't
shoot over
You
the
don't
top of your own
really have
troops.
that issue now in version 4 because
Well, I wondered if what they might let you do is allow you to shoot over moving infantry rather than stationary.
Yeah. Although that goes against the trench doctrine stuff.
Yeah.
Do you remember the Desert Fort?
The Desert Fort. I've got my Desert Fort.
And how you could move the objective
Mark's
into it and
making
auto
reference
win.
to the one chance in 24 or whatever it was that if you had the French fort, you could win the game before the game started.
This was Jez's greatest thing, wasn't it?
And this was God bless him because he's not around anymore to fight his corner. This is one of Steve Charlton's great ideas.
Yeah,
and he reacted quite badly to somebody leaking the plan on the old forum, and it was like, it wasn't that secret, Steve. Everybody else had also managed to work it out, and it was likely to get you 1 point at the ETC, right? That was the only, we're going to get 1 extra point. And just take a decent army and win the extra point by being the better player anyway. It's not like Steve was a
I was going to say, he's not
anyway.
Well, it was Jez who ran the army.
Yeah.
Well, on the basis that Jez is unlikely ever to watch this, to be fair, Jez could start a fight in an empty room.
His other classic was this was Jez logic. He came up with in V3. You could only cut your wire and clear a minefield if you were up against it. However, you can't finish movement on a linear piece of scenery.
That's right.
So what he used to do, he used to put his barbed wire up against a linear scenery like a hedge and move it back by 0.1 of an inch. So you can never clear it.
So Dave has joined us. He's just said, "Is this how to beat Dave evening?" And well, it isn't really Dave, but if we did, who's beaten Dave would be here till next New Year's Eve. Although it doesn't, I don't do it very often.
If we are going to go back to Dave Madigan, my favourite one was when he was hungover, one ETC, and I was playing him. He had, I think it was mid-war Germans.
It's always mid-war Germans.
Always mid-war Germans. And we were just kind of, the game was just getting started. It was kind of like turn 2, 3. There was no clear way the game was going to go. And then suddenly he's able to go, well, thanks, Dave. That was a good game. It's like going to shake his hand, and he's, well, what do you mean?
So when you put
It's
a
like
objective.
you drove off the
Oh,
objective.
yeah.
What do you mean? You picked your models up and drove off the objective while I was on it.
To be fair to him, because
He was very hungover.
He's a good guy, and
He is.
he's recovering from an operation. So everybody sends best wishes.
Yeah,
Dave,
we do.
for speedy recovery. When we were in when we were in Zagreb, the best piece of infantry save rolling I've ever seen, when Dave
Oh,
advanced.
you were telling me, yeah.
He advanced a platoon of infantry across the board into the face of 4 French 75s and a Norwegian infantry platoon, and didn't lose a single stand in the whole way, and overran the battery.
Oh.
I've never seen infantry saving like it. So, but that was a fun game. There was a fun list, actually. I think it was Dave that might have started the "Let's make Richard take Norwegian" thing. So it was fitting that they beat him. So what are we doing tournament wise next year? Martin, where are you going first?
I'm going to play at TTR in a 1-day event in March, which is mid-war. And then after that, I don't know is the honest answer this year, because we have some potential family changes coming up.
Oh, okay.
Which timing is to be determined on, which might result in us being out of the country for an extended period.
Oh, okay. So we won't pry, but that'll play out. And you might be doing the Patreon thing though as well in April.
I'll definitely be down for that in April. Down to that in April. I will probably, all things being equal, I will be at Warfare, because that's only down the road from my house, quite literally. I live at the other end of the runway. The exhibition centre's at one end, 2.5 miles of the Farnborough runway. I live beyond the field, in the valley at the other end. And then I will get, if all being equal, I will get one away weekend this year. I don't have a lot of opportunity to travel for gaming.
So Dave's just admitted that he did that twice at that ATC. Drove off an objective. Drove off an objective.
And I thought I was special
on the opponent's next turn. Nice. So Mark, what about you? Where's your?
So the only thing I've got put this year is I'll go to Scottish Nationals in May, because it's a good bunch up there, and I gather you're going to come down with Soren. You were telling me earlier, which would be good.
All 3 of us. Well, not down. It is down actually.
Down for him.
Down a tiny bit and across a little bit.
West for you.
Yeah, it's dangerously close to the place where they don't put salt and sauce on their chips.
Oh. And then obviously running nationals in September, but I haven't got any other plans other than that. I'm not ETCing this year. I'm going to be quite busy with work from September through to July 26th, so that will curtail things a bit. So I don't know. We'll see what comes up. I'm sure there'll be something else between now and then.
So I might play because I think Scott Palmer's putting on something in Northern Ireland in March. So if I can coordinate that with a trip to our office in Belfast, I might try and get across to that. And then in order to stop Mark whinging at me for the rest of the year, I'm going to play in the Scottish Nationals. I don't normally play in tournaments in GB for all sorts of reasons I won't bore you with. But the 3 guys that I tend to, 2 of the guys and me that tend to go away 2 or 3 times a year to tournaments. That's Morten Schmidt and Søren Peterson and me. We've decided we'll come to the Scottish Nationals. So we've got our Airbnb booked, and we'll go and do some sightseeing stuff, and there'll probably be whiskey involved.
Not in Bathgate.
Not in Bathgate, no. Bathgate, for those of you that have never enjoyed the joys of it's a demilitarized zone, sort of on the borders between the west of Scotland and the east of Scotland. So both the east and the west look down on them. and it's sort of halfway between. So no, we're a little bit outside Bathgate, but it's actually about halfway between my house and Bathgate. So yeah,
To be fair, the host said I'm English, so don't go into town drinking.
To be fair, it exists for a reason. That reason petered out in the 1980s. So, it's a town that's kind of without a purpose. So it's like a lot of places in the world. It's got good points and it's got bad points. The good point being it's got quite a good gaming venue. I mean, Nightly Games is a really good gaming venue. I mean, it is really good. And Frank and the guys that do the Scottish Nationals do a great job of getting that in. So I did pop along and visit last year. Mark gave me a hell of a hard time for not playing, given that it is literally 25 miles from where I live.
I was going to say,
so I've given in this year, and I'm going. It'll be practice because it's mid-war, isn't it? So it'll be practice for ETC, which I am going to, which is in Leuven, which is in the middle of Austria, which is not exactly the easiest place in the world to get to, but we'll manage to work that out. And then we'll do something later in the year. Maybe see if anybody's starting to do anything sort of early warish.
Yeah, I think a lot of that's going to depend on when the books actually hit the shelves, isn't it?
Yeah. And I think the problem being is that one book with just the 3 nations in it might be a little bit limiting in terms of trying to run a competition. You might probably get a games day out of it, a sort of turn up and play some games, but it's a little bit limiting in terms of a competition with
I'm looking forward. I think that what intrigues me most is what's going to be in that second book.
Yeah,
how expansive that second book is going to be.
Yeah, and I'm kind of, there's a little bit of me that's hopeful that once the Matilda model is out and released, which I can understand that they've kind of hung on to make it a big part of early war release, because
no, it's clearly you mean migration compilation.
Well, the thing is, by the time
well there is.
So look,
you can't. What's in that grayed out box?
If that's the case, then people better get used to fighting the Japanese in a non-existent campaign in 1944 or endlessly fighting the Finns, because the only place that Matildas were in 1944, in the middle of 1944, were up in the far north or out in the far east.
Yeah, I was going to say
it would be much better to see them in mid-war, because in mid-war they were actually quite a
well,
not very
whole of the whole of the 5th Mechanized Corps. That's what they had. They only had Lend-Lease vehicles.
Yeah,
most of their Lend-Lease were British vehicles.
Obviously, the Valentine was the biggest thing that we sent across there, but there were a lot of Matildas. So I'm kind of hoping that we see Matildas in mid-war in the east, and also mid-war for 42 and early 43 in the desert.
We should see them.
Well, it'd be daft if they don't. I mean, then
you just put.
They're a company that wants to sell models.
Yeah,
I mean, then again,
that's a model you can sell to a lot.
I've said that before, but
yeah. Well, except for those of us that have already got 40 from the first time out. So, and the thing is that they also, in mid-war, they're the tank that the Australians use.
Yeah, I was going to say you've got the Australians.
So obviously the Kiwis used the Valentine in the very few occasions that they took tanks into operations in the Pacific. And in New Guinea, the Australians worked out that they just gave back the Stuarts because they weren't really worth it, and just used the Matilda. So I'm kind of hoping
no Matilda in the Australian starter set on the.
Well, indeed not. But let's not go down that route, because otherwise steam will emerge from my ears. But I am hoping that they do an option for the Matilda Frog, because if there is an intention to extend late war out a little bit. Then
if they've done
a Matilda Frog,
it's the flamethrowing version of Matilda that the Australians used in New Guinea.
Yeah, they've done if they've gone to the trouble of making a plastic sprue, you can't believe it hasn't got all the variants on it. We've seen that with the M5 sprue.
TIB, Martin. TIB.
Well, obviously
this is Battlefront.
Yeah, but you can still put the Saladin. The dragon, the flamethrowing Stuart, and there's no place for that in the game until Pacific finally comes out, because it was the only place it was used. the flame throwing.
Oh, the Satan.
Yeah, the Satan. That's it. That's
Yeah, the Satan. Yeah,
the
I
Satan.
scratch. I scratch built some of those
Because
for.
the parts are on the plastic sprue.
Well, they weren't. They didn't used to be. And
Yeah,
I
they're
bought
really
my plastic. I bought my Stewart's from another company that's now
Yes.
sanctioned. So I had to scratch
Sanctioned
them.
elsewhere. Yeah.
You want to try getting Zvezda kits, mate? Bloody hard. So I think we're almost. We'll do another 10 minutes and then we'll call it a day.
Yeah, I say I'm going to run because I want to go and watch
hungover
SAS Heroes season 2.
Oh right,
You're gonna watch what? Sorry, Squid Games.
I'm going to go. No, I'm going to go and watch SAS Rogue Heroes season 2
Oh, is that out? Is it? Oh.
tonight, 9 o'clock.
Ah. Are
First
they
episode.
doing it episode at a time, or all of them?
Two, one today, one tomorrow,
Okay, cool.
and same. I don't know when episode. And I presume episode 3 will be next week.
That'll be good.
So yeah, that looks quite. They're moving to it.
So we don't want to compete against that because we'll lose.
We definitely.
So we should close up and do a little bit of a something for the old, Battle Breakthrough Assault plays bit. So you don't do anything other than Flames of War, do you, Martin?
I play Warmaster.
Okay, so are you doing anything for Warmaster this year?
I will be playing at the club, without a doubt, and I may play. London has strangely enough, London has a really big scene for Warmaster.
So my friends in Devisers used to play. So
up in North London, they've got.
All right, but they used to, I'm sure that Phil.
There's a big event every year.
Okay,
here in up at Crystal Palace, Alexander Palace, not Crystal.
Oh, Alexander Palace.
Ali Pali, yeah.
Ali Pali, all right.
They play a lot of Warmaster.
I know when I used to go to Attack years and years ago. There used to be a Warmaster competition there because I know Phil played in that with Parthians or something. So Phil, that's involved in the Devisers Club, I've known for a lot longer than either of us care to remember. So cool, that's good.
So yes, I should be playing a bit of that, and I'm in the process of rebasing my old Warhammer models.
Old
world.
World. Yeah, I played a bit of Old World.
They need to be rebased. So I have I've dug them all out. So I may well play a few more games of that, but I won't play any kind of competitions for that. That will just be clubs in the local store. The closest store to me has quite a thriving Warhammer scene.
Cool. Well, don't most clubs.
Yeah, as our club,
it seems to me
that play. If we got 40 people in the hall, 36 of them will be playing Warhammer of some description, or a GW product game of some description.
That's why Mark's going to retire off their shares that he's got.
Unfortunately, I sold them a while ago, which I'm disappointed given where they are at the moment.
That was a bit silly. So
that was a mistake. I've still
you're not ETCing this year, so are you filling the gap with anything? I know you're a bit busy with work from
I do a bit of Calic Cleanse and with Kill Team. So I'm painting up Ratlings, the new. This one is close. This one is far away. Right. You get your.
Is that a rat with a heavy? Is that a rat?
They're basically hobbits with sniper rifles.
Oh, okay.
But they can't call them hobbits. So that's the latest Kill Team that's come out. So I'm painting those up. And there's quite a few people who play it around here, which for Northumberland is saying something. So I can easily get games, but there's no real Flames of War up here. And while people will play it, no one wants to buy into it. So you can bring stuff down, but they just compete with other stuff, and I think that's the problem, isn't it? It's how do you make it? And I think they are making it more accessible. I think those starter sets are working, but it's how do you get people to stay into it and get into it and invest into it? People will play the odd game, but if you want to get people who really get into it and then start understanding it. Yeah, but I can pick up Kill Team and everyone plays it.
Yeah, it took me 40 years to play a historic, start playing a vaguely modern historical game.
Yeah.
So it was good I went to Sweden just before Christmas to play in the Swedish Nationals, and it was really good to see their communities really coming back together. They had a community in V3, and then it just kind of died away. And there was 20 odd. There was a few of us that had travelled, but the majority of people were Swedes, and it was really
Yeah,
good
I
to
was going to
see the
say,
community.
you see it here in the UK as well. I think things have definitely been on the up. So, as I mentioned, I play a little bit at Tabletop Republic, which is about an hour's drive from mine.
At High Wycombe.
It's in High Wycombe, in the shop. But they've built a really good community actually, and that's gone from 0 players. I went over for a gaming day on Saturday. Yeah, Saturday it was. It's a bit hard to tell which day's which at the moment.
Yes, we're in that kind of limbo period.
My 1-star went into there and was going to pick up a Flames of War starter set.
Well,
for those people that don't speak MOD language, that's a senior officer in Mark's chosen profession.
Well, I was going to say if it had been in there recently, it'd have done really well because they've had them all on half price.
Oh, there you go.
So
believe me, on the wages,
I acquired another one.
That's a good plug for anyone who's listening and needs cheap Flames of War. Go check out Tabletop Republic at half price.
You have to physically go. They've got an online presence, but you have to physically go into the store to pick those up.
Oh, right.
Which is quite a good way to encourage football.
I'm conscious that we don't want to compete with Rogue Troopers or Rogue. I didn't watch the first one.
It's on iPlayer. It doesn't start at 9.
Oh, all right. Okay. Dave, in response to dynamic points, I think we'll probably do that as the next Eyes and Ears, maybe.
Obviously, Soviet Lees were the winner.
Or not, as the case may be. Lees were the winner, but not the Soviet.
But not the Soviet ones.
Not the Soviet.
I mean, just in closing, I've been doing some of Mark's. So I've been palette cleansing. So I'm painting. I'm on the board of a local historic building, and we're about to reopen. And one of the unknown battles of the Civil War is the place that I live. So I'm doing some 28mm English Civil War
to
refight that. Yeah, so I've just finished off MacLean of Dewart's Highlander regiment that basically got massacred, and then because I'm an absolute masochist, I finally succumbed. I've been thinking about buying another bolt action army, because
you hate bolt action.
I'm not a big fan of it, but I just thought I really quite enjoyed painting and I hate painting, so I thought, so I bought Danes on the basis that it's going to take me longer to paint them than the 6 hours that they actually managed to resist the Germans in World War II. Sorry to everybody on my old team. We've been doing this joke on the Flames of War Denmark page since I posted the photos of me buying the Danish army. But they've got some cool. There was a Kickstarter last year, and there's some cool models. They have a tank destroyer, which is a 20mm anti-tank gun mounted on the sidecar of a motorcycle, so it just looks pretty cool, and I'm going to enjoy painting it.
Plenty of bicycles from
well, I've got motorbikes, so I've gone up market.
Posh Danes.
Yeah. So yeah, that and we'll see. Version 3 might. There's been a version change, so it's a little bit different. So I'm going to go along and pick that up, but I'm hoping to get my English Civil War stuff out and maybe some Saga stuff out. But we'll pick up. I think Dave has inadvertently given us the subject of the next Eyes and Ears, and I will try and get more regular. I do say I'll do it every month, and then it peters out towards the end of the year because work and life get in the way. But been good to chat to you both.
Take care.
And enjoy the rest.
See you at some point this year.
Well, I've got the day off tomorrow because it's a Scottish bank holiday, so I don't know if you're back at work whenever.
I'm not back at work. No, when you work in construction, we shut down over Christmas.
All right. Well, I'm not. I'm going back on the 6th. Enjoy the rest of your holiday.
Christmas, January, February, March.
Yes. All right.
Let's be honest.
Yeah, Mark, who occasionally works.
That's right.
The dirty word, isn't it?
Yeah. All right. Cheers, guys, and we'll catch up with everybody later.
Bye.